Welcome to Feeding Our Young podcast. Have you ever heard the phrase, nurses eat their young? Feeding Our Young is more than a podcast. It's a movement. It's a desire to see new nurses of all ages be supported and uplifted by their peers. And it starts with me, and it starts with you. So join host Eric Miller, registered nurse of nearly 20 years and adjunct clinical instructor, and today's honored guest, me, Carsen McGuire. And be ready to have your life uplifted so you in turn can uplift others. Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Feeding Our Young podcast. Happy Monday morning, everybody. Wait, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. That's how my week goes. I'm like going, hold on, it's actually Tuesday morning. So happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Wow, this is a great start. I am excited for you to meet the person I have in studio. I've known her for quite some time, and she is ultra, uber, super inspiring. No pressure on you, my dear friend, but without further ado, let's stop flapping my gums and get to her, because that's who you want to hear from. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Carsen McGuire. Carsen, how are you doing this morning?
I am convinced it was Monday. I was like, wait, what am I doing? In the right place?
Like, hold on, I scheduled this for Tuesday, Eric. Did I screw something up? I think that's what happens to, people who have a lot on their plate, right? I'm like, what day is it? I don't know. It's Tuesday? Okay, great.
I was gonna be like, great, it's Monday. Okay, do it again.
Well, I had an unusual Monday where I didn't even have to work. I had NRP yesterday. I had my every 2-year NRP research class. And so I went to that yesterday. So yesterday doesn't feel like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a genuine Monday in that regards. I don't know. I suppose neither does today. All right, Carsen, enough about me. Let's talk about you. We've already kind of let the cat out of the bag. I've known you for a while, which must mean you're a nurse. So what degrees do you hold and where did you get them?
Well, I started at Arizona State University and got my bachelor's degree there in 2004. I can hardly say it. I about tried to throw a 20 in there, but that was in 2004. So quite some years ago. And then I completed my master's degree in nursing in 2017 at Gonzaga University.
Awesome. Congratulations. And that is no small feat, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, going after those advanced degrees. So, Carsen, where is home for you?
Home now is really Spokane. I did grow up in Enid, Oklahoma, but moved to Arizona for college and never went back to the Midwest. Really, I did a small tour in Texas for about a year, but then came right back to kind of the West Coast. And so I've been in Spokane for 15 years now, and both my husband and my parents live in the area, so Spokane is really home. My kids completely believe we're just like from Spokane. That's really great. They don't understand that it started anywhere else.
Well, then the question for you then is why Spokane? How'd you end up in Spokane after Arizona and all that? You know what I mean? Moving around.
We never came to Spokane before we moved here. My husband's parents had moved to Lake Chelan while he was in college, kind of as their retirement plan. And so we had visited Lake Chelan and we had visited Seattle a number of times. But once my husband finished his degree in psychology, there was a job that was open in Spokane that looked interesting to him. And he did a phone interview. There wasn't video interviews 15 years ago. So he just did a phone interview. And we moved, and I flew on a plane and arrived in Spokane for the first time. And thankfully, it's worked out really well.
Wow. Then I'll ask you what I ask a lot of honored guests. What do you love about your now hometown?
I love the size of it overall. I love that it is a small community. I think we talked about that a little bit earlier. It is a small community where you do get to know folks. And have relationships that come and go over the years, that you see them again in different ways. And I enjoy that. And then I, of course, enjoy just the lakes and the opportunities to have mountains close to ski and to be able to get outdoors and to do things quite easily and having all the different seasons.
Awesome. And maybe no tornadoes. Did you ever have to deal with that back in
Oh
Oklahoma?
yeah. Yep. Yeah, F4, go very close to our farm that I grew up on. So I appreciate the lack of natural disasters kind of overall. But I know we have the wildfires for
Yeah.
sure. But the tornadoes, it's nice to be away from that. And then the scorching heat in Arizona as well. And well, we lived in California. I got to experience an earthquake. So
Oh my goodness. No, yeah, and that's what I do love that about here too, that I remember feeling an earthquake once here in Spokane, and it turned out it was an aftershock from a really big earthquake in Montana, which was very strange. And the only reason why I felt it was because I was on the ninth floor NICU working that night. And I'm sitting there, and you kind of feel the roller chair kind of move a little bit. And I'm looking over at the IV pole, and it's like, it's moving. What's going on? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. The point is, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you have genuinely lived one of my wife's dreams. She has always wanted to live through and survive a tornado. Not enough that she's going to move us to Oklahoma, but I was like, babe, I don't, why?
just watch Twisters. It's fine.
All right, well then let's open with the traditional questions, and that is I ask everybody to pick 3 words to use to describe nursing school. What were those 3 words that you chose?
Challenging, rewarding, and eye-opening.
Awesome. And then 3 of your favorite songs in life right now.
My 3 favorite songs, which I actually have them on a car playlist. Like it's just 3 songs. Drives my kids nuts. Are "Lean On" by Major Lazer and DJ Snake, "Wildest Dreams" by Taylor Swift, and "Lush Life" by Zara Larsson.
Awesome. And you have those on repeat, like a single, like 3-song playlist, or?
Car rotation. It's named Car Rotation, and it's just 3 songs. Thankfully, my kids really like 2 of them. They're not as big a fan of Wildest Dreams, but they like "Lean On" and "Lush Life." And we just rotate it.
That is outstanding. And most people are like, I have to limit it to 3 songs, and here you have this like built-in car rotation playlist that is 3 songs long. I love it.
When I
All
saw
right,
that
well,
question, it cracked me up. I was like, oh, I have the answer.
you're like, that one's easy. Well, then a few more questions to get to know you before we dive into the meat of the matter, because I love that some of my honored guests, they send back information, or they'll answer all the questions that on the questionnaire, give me an idea where we're going, and others don't send anything at all. And then there's those that live in the in-between, which will send me like, hey, ask me these questions, but I don't get to see the answers. So it's fun for me. This is almost my favorite method of doing this, because I don't know what she's going to say, you don't know what she's going to say, but she knows what she's going to say. So we're going to find out a little bit more about Carsen, and we're going to start off by asking, what is your superpower?
My superpower is a combo of organization and planning. I love to organize and plan. I don't get to use my superpower as much at home as I would like to because my 4 kids and husband aren't as quite, receptive to me organizing and planning all of their lives. But I still get to use it very much in my role as a nursing professional development specialist, a nurse educator, and I take a lot of pride. It doesn't always work out, and that has had to develop over time. I used to get
Mm-hmm.
frustrated when my organization and my planning didn't go exactly as I wanted it to, when it didn't work out. But now I really enjoy the process, and I think it's more of a superpower that I can just enjoy the process and not get as frustrated with the outcome.
I love that, and I love that you stated like at somewhere along the way you had to learn to accept the fact that even though you can get ultra organized, things don't always go to plan.
Yes.
Well, you just mentioned your family, and you wish you could use that superpower at home a little bit more. But what do you want to share as far as your family is concerned? Tell us about them.
We're a very close family. I mentioned both my husband, his parents, and then my mom live in the area, and then we have 4 kids. And I've met my husband when I was 19 at a college party, but we stuck together. We grew up together in our 20s for sure. We lived in the Bay Area and then moved a couple times throughout the West Coast while he was finishing school, and we had a good time traveling, and I enjoyed planning and organizing those trips and what we would do and when. And it usually worked out when it was just the 2 of us most of the time. So then in our 30s, though, our lives totally changed. We became the parents of 4 kids under the age of 3, which was just a complete upside down. Our life is totally different. We had our first son, who was a singleton. And then when he was 2.5, we welcomed fraternal triplets that were 2 girls and a boy. And that just having 3 kids or 4 kids under the age of 3 was just completely changed our life, and we've learned so many things and grown together so much more as we've figured out how to parent, and definitely rely on our extended family to be able to do it.
Yeah, this is a fun little fact I don't think I ever knew about you, which I'm like, this is why we don't do video, y'all, because then I'm like gaping mouth wide open, all the things. But I can't get off this subject without asking, what is it like raising triplets, let alone triplets with a 2.5-year-old in the mix?
It's where I learned that I can organize and I can plan, but whatever is going to happen is going to happen. So just be prepared. You can have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, but be okay with plan Z. That's what it's like. I'm just like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and you just need to manage yourself and your response to it.
Wow, that is just simply amazing. I just love that. I love that. So then who or what inspires you most in life?
My kids inspire me most in life. Each of them are so unique, and they continually teach me things. It feels like almost on a daily basis of reminding things that maybe I thought I was teaching them, but they actually are teaching
Hmm.
me. Kind of pieces of just their resilience, like their empathy, their just intelligence and strength, both like physical and emotional, and just their love for life, their love for other people, their love for our family. So they really inspire me just watching them grow and change and be who they are.
Oh, I love that. And I love that I tell all of our new mamas, I tell all of our families, I tell all the things like parenting, there's no job like it in the world. It is the most challenging thing I think anyone could ever go through. And yet it is simultaneously, as most things that are challenging are, the most rewarding thing. Would you agree?
Oh, I would. I would
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Most challenging and definitely most rewarding too.
Awesome. Well, while you're raising kids and doing all the things and organizing, this was another little fluff question that you wanted to answer. So I'm very intrigued to see where you go with this. What fictional character or characters in movies, television, books, etc., do you most identify with?
I most identify with Princess Leia. We're Star Wars fans as a family. We've watched all the movies together as a family, and actually answering this question made me think we need to start again and maybe get through them all again this summer. Hopefully, people will agree with my plan. But why Princess Leia is I just appreciate that she's very diplomatic and constrained, kind of in her responses, while other folks maybe around her are sometimes very emotional or reactive. She just has, from my perception, some good emotional intelligence and
Yeah.
resilience, and carries herself as a really grounded individual, even when things are maybe chaotic around her. So I feel like I've had to develop that. Like enough around me. People staring at me in Target with my 4 kids melting down. I'm just gonna stay calm because that's the
Oh.
only thing that's gonna get me through it.
Oh, the whole people staring at you in like you just brought me back there, sister. You just brought me back. I had one time I was in line paying for food and I'm holding, I don't remember which daughter it was. I want to say it was my oldest, but it could be my middle daughter. And she was in a like a one jumper, right? Like that just kind of zips all the
Mhm.
way up, crotch to neck, and I'm holding her in my arms and all the things and I'm standing there and I feel warmth on my arm, down my side. And I was like, and I had already like, I don't like shopping. You know what I mean? And I'm there by myself. I don't remember what the missus was doing. I was like, oh, I got it. I'll take her. We'll give you a breather. I'm going to go shopping. I was just at my wit's end when all that was, people are looking at me, and if they're not parents, they don't sympathize typically, as you know. So let's before we dive into the nursing bit of it, I feel like this is a good segue question, and maybe it automatically flips it into the nursing. I don't know, because you also wanted to answer the question, what other jobs or careers have you had? So maybe we couple that with why nursing. Like, what jobs or careers did you have before the nursing track, if that is even a thing?
Yep. So in college, I started, did my freshman year, and then I took a break my sophomore year because I felt like I didn't really know where it was going, wasn't like on track with just kind of where I wanted to be with my grades and with progressing with my major and all of those pieces. So I just took a break my sophomore year, and I worked at the Jewish Community Early Childhood Education Center in a room with 2 and 3-year-olds. So as a
Oh,
19-year-old, I went to work 40 hours a week working with 2 and 3-year-olds. And I loved working with kids and their families. And it does lead into my nursing career because that helped me really solidify that what I wanted to do was become a pediatric nurse. I had considered kind of nursing medical. I had started my major as biology, but I just didn't really see where I was going, like what career I was going to have at the end of that,
yeah.
and decided I wanted to take a break. And that experience, coupled with knowing my sister-in-law, who was a pediatric nurse in the CVICU at Arkansas Children's Hospital, helped me realize I want to work with kids. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to work at an education center, but I want to be a pediatric nurse.
Incredible. And I mean, your caring heart is evident. Your passion for nursing is evident, which is part of the reason why I'm like, hey, Carsen, we got to chat. Come on in the pod. Let's talk about you and your life. And so those were the key components that formed the why nursing. Was it kind of then at that moment you just kind of rolled into it and jumped through the hoops and got into nursing school, or was there any lag? Like, how did that look?
Well, my interest in nursing actually first started based on an experience I had when I was 12. My stepfather died of brain cancer in our home, and I had a hospice
Oh,
nurse that was really inspirational to me. And that's what first got me interested in nursing, but I couldn't see myself doing what she did or
yeah,
really even working with adults in acute care. But she's the person who got me like, nurses are really cool. Like her job, what she did for me, what she did for our family. I would like to have a job similar to that, but I couldn't quite see myself in that type, and I didn't have a lot of opportunities to see different careers in nursing or see how vast it was. And
yeah,
just having that early experience that got me interested, and that first got me kind of like, well, I'll do a biology major and maybe something in kind of medicine, that realm will pop up and figure out for me. But I
yeah,
realized after my first year, like, this isn't really clicking. I'm not getting any further. I'm going to take a little break. And so then that experience of both working in the community center in that early childhood room, plus my just getting to be around my sister-in-law a little bit more and her talking about her career as a CVICU nurse at Arkansas Children's, just helped me kind of see that, okay, this is where I'm going to go. And then, yes, I just immediately went back, kind of my sophomore, but
yeah.
junior year. Most of my friends were in their junior year, but then just immediately went back, hopped in, got all enrolled in pre-nursing, and that's the direction I went.
That's awesome. There I am making an assumption that we had covered everything that made you want to become a nurse, and yet there's this amazing like moment when you're 12. But I love that you are transparent and you state like, you have this event that happens when you're 12, and yet it wasn't you're like, "Oh, that's cool. That's an amazing career." And yet I don't know that I see myself in that role. And so I love that you mentioned that because, any one of y'all listening out there, we've covered the gamut. I've had honored guests that are like, oh, I knew since I was 5. And you know what I mean? That whole thing to all the way to the other side of, there's one honored guest that said she became a nurse because the line for the for the engineering line that she was standing in was too long, and she just hopped over to the other admissions line, which was nursing. And then she ended up having this beautiful long career. And so everything in between, it doesn't it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter why, but the why is what will continue to drive you as you go through nursing school, as you go through your career and things of that nature. So on that note, then, Carsen, before we talk about that illustrious nursing career that you've had so far, we're at nursing school. You jumped right in. You know what I mean. You're ready to go. So, what did you love most about nursing school?
It actually, the parts that I loved the most were actually my nurse educators that I had that helped me through because I honestly did struggle with nursing school because I did
Hmm.
not like working with adult patients. And so clinicals were really hard for me. I think it was kind of a combination of just having the experience with my stepfather who passed. Like I
Mm-hmm.
struggled a lot to work with adult patients. I struggled sometimes to communicate appropriately with them. I was much better with kids, and just the clinicals sometimes were really hard for me. And I got through it with some really great nursing instructors who mentored me, helped me. I just wasn't really comfortable in that space, and I just was like, well, I'm just going to be a pediatric nurse, so it's fine. And they were like, no, you're gonna have to be successful in these adult clinicals. I was like, okay, well, can you help me? And they did, and I made it. And I actually understood that I liked it more than I thought I would. I still
Hmm.
did start in pediatric nursing initially, but that's what I liked about nursing school. Honestly, was how much I grew as a person in ways that I
Hmm.
didn't know I could.
Yes, and that's that last key piece, in ways that you didn't know you could. Because and anyone who listens to this podcast knows, like, so many honored guests are like, hey, you know what I mean? You grow, and we love how it changes, you as a person, and at a fundamental level too. It's not quite like the military where they tear you down and build you back up in the way they need you to be. But it does absolutely change who you are in your core, to the point of being able to, like you said, you know what I mean? You go in with these certain expectations, and most of us know, right? You're either going to work with kids or you're going to work with adults. Some nursing students, no clue. I don't know what I want to do. Great, wonderful. But most people at least know, I definitely don't want to touch a kid in my life. I definitely don't want to touch an adult in my life. So I guess let me ask you this, Carsen. You said that you had a lot of instructors that were very helpful, very supportive through that. What would be, to the listener who's listening to you, going, okay, I definitely know I want to work with adults and never kids, or kids and never adults. What would be your advice to them on how to then go through those, taking care of the other side of that patient population while in nursing school?
I think my advice to them would be that you're learning more than you realize in caring for the pediatric or the adult population that you never actually see yourself taking care of in your future. There's so many aspects of just the fundamentals of how we communicate with our families, with our patients, with their, friends. It's always kind of a group that you're caring
Yeah.
for, at least has been the majority of my experience. And so I would just encourage you to see the growth and the learning that's available despite the actual age of the patient.
Awesome. Very, very good advice. So then, going beyond nursing school, unless there anything else you want to touch on in regards to nursing school and what you enjoyed or what you found challenging besides the working with the other side of the coin, age wise.
I think just encouraging to enjoy the process of it. I was very intent to get to the other side and be done and to be past, some of the experiences and wishing some of them away. And I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention. Like I didn't see a lot of value at the time in my psych rotation or even the psych
Mm,
content that I was being presented. And I did have a very, 26 years ago, very much segmented into like psych is just psych, not throughout our populations, but it
yeah.
still was at that time too. And so I wish I would have spent more time learning all that I kind of could instead of thinking, oh, I need this, I don't need that, and making those decisions.
Very well said. And I just recently I got to speak to a group of students that were just inducted into the Sigma Theta Tau Honor Society, senior nursing students. And I reached out to previous honored guests and just said, okay, specifically ones that have been working for like a year, about a year or so outside of nursing school, and said, okay, you're now you get to talk to yourself about a year ago. What are some of the things you would definitely want you to know? And one of the themes that came out of that was very much kind of along the lines of what you're saying. And they just said the advice they gave, and I love the way they said it. And these are a few different people from different walks of life. This isn't a group chat. They don't see each other's answers. And they just said, enjoy the new grad phase of your career, of your life. And it was a great, like, it gave me pause for a moment because you say, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't wait to get to the other end of that, right? And of nursing school and to be done with it. And new grad, new hire, same thing. It's so stressful. So, all the things. And I remember like looking up to, here's this nurse, Molly. She's been there 5 years at this point. I'm like, I cannot wait to like have 5 years under my belt and actually feel like I know what I'm doing. And yet you're missing all the stuff in the in between in that rush to get to a place where, okay, I feel like I've arrived now. You know what I mean? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
thank you for sharing that. I think that's awesome. So let's talk your nursing career then. You graduate, you finally get to that, that moment you've been waiting for, and you're done with nursing school. What does your career look like? Share as much or as little as you want. Where do you go into? Where did you said you wanted to work P's. Did you get to do that right away? And then what does that career progression look like for you?
So I started as a new grad in pediatric CVICU in California, and I was going to stay close to where my husband was headed for graduate school, but I also was like, and we might have to spend a year apart because I'm going to get the job I want. I graduated in the early 2000s, so there was a lot of opportunity at that time to be able to get into specialties. And I also had great timing that I'm very thankful for. In the facility that I went to had started a nurse residency program. So they were one of the first in the country. It started down in Southern California, one of the first ones, but then at Stanford Children's Hospital in Northern California, they bought the program from them. So I got the opportunity to be able to be supported by that, which was very, very helpful for me and definitely contributed to my success and to just not having so much anxiety and just the amount of knowledge that I needed and the amount of time that I needed to have an understanding from the nurse educators, my leadership, the preceptors who were working with me of just how much time it was going to take me. I didn't think it was going to take me as much time as they were like, no, it is. You've got to write attention for a really long time. You are actually not ready. But I appreciated how kindly that was given to me and how much additional education that I was given and opportunities to learn in those safe spaces in the classroom and simulations with my preceptor at the bedside. So I worked there for in that unit for a couple years, and then a pediatric transplant coordinator was going on a leave, and I was asked to step in and do that in a kind of a short-term basis until she came
Mm-hmm.
back. And during that time, I absolutely loved that job. I loved getting to work with those families in the kind of transplant process. I took them as soon as they got their transplant. We had a pre-transplant coordinator, but as soon as we got to like be involved when we told them that there was an organ available for them, and then we were there with them all the way through. And that job gave me many opportunities to grow and got to be part of developing a teen transition program in the clinic because we took care of them in acute care, being the main person coordinating all of their care, making sure that they were getting what they needed, but then also saw them in the clinics and got to see them through until they transitioned over to adult care. Which when I started had quite a few gaps in it in getting them prepared to take care of themselves and to be their own advocates. So I really loved the opportunity to develop that. And we took a lot of it from the liver coordinators, had developed a program. So spent some time doing that, but then with my husband's schooling, he finished up and it was time for us to move for him to be able to do kind of the pieces that he needed to do to get licensed. So despite thinking I would never leave pediatric nursing, we moved to a small community that didn't have a pediatric acute care pediatrics at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was either I was going to have to live like 2 hours away from my husband, or I was going to have to work with adults. And I was like, well, I'll just figure it out. So I went to cardiology. I at least knew like cardiology. I was like, I think I can do that. It's going to be way different with adult hearts, but I at least know cardiology, so I'll stay somewhere close. And so I worked in a unit that was like a pre-admit, post-admit, and cath lab that we were all kind of shared staff in there.
Okay.
And during that time, my oldest son was born. And when I moved to Spokane when he was 10 months old and had the opportunity to go back to pediatrics, I was like, absolutely not. Not doing it. Not working with kids.
Uh-huh.
Adults. So I again stuck with cardiac and did an outpatient adult cardiology unit, but found I didn't really love the completely outpatient cardiology. It was okay
Mm-hmm.
in that transplant coordinator because I had the mix of acute care plus outpatient. So I moved over to Holy Family Hospital in SMAU in ambulatory care and enjoyed that. Went back to Gonzaga to get my master's degree that finished up and started teaching for them adjunct. And then after I finished, started teaching for them full time in
Mm.
their undergraduate program, but wanted to come back to acute care still. So once a nursing professional development specialist or nurse educator position opened up that was kind of my right specialty background, so a peri anesthesia one opened up at Sacred Heart in 2019. And so I moved into that role. And then I got to finally kind of have the dream job that I wanted of being able to work in coordinating nurse residency and fellowships. And about a year later, moved over to that role that I'm in now as a program coordinator for nurse residency and fellowship.
So many things I want to say like along this journey. I love, first of all, the never say never aspect of it, right? You're like nursing school. I'm never going to work with adults. I don't like, I'll, whatever. I'll get through this. And they're like, no, you need to succeed in this. And lo and behold, here you are in your career along the way that you end up working with adults and eventually having that moment where you go, no, I actually now don't want to work with kids. You know what I mean? Like, and that was one of the hardest parts for me was seeing, similarly aged children that would come through, you know what I mean, to your own kids. And it's a difficult, challenging thing. But what I'd love for you to expound a little bit more on is this residency role, like this, what you've been doing for the last year. For those that, many of you will see the side of it of being a new resident and you know what I mean, a new nurse and trying to figure it out. But what does it look like from your perspective, Carsen? What are the things you're looking at? What are the things you're trying to support so that someone who is listening to this going, okay, that's something I'm going to be doing someday, being a recipient of that leading and that knowledge. What does it look like on your side of that equation?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was very motivated and interested in the program manager role for nurse residency and fellowship because, as I described, being a brand new grad in nurse residency, getting a supportive program that considered my education needs, that was thoughtful about what my orientation needs were going to look like, and that those were going to be different than somebody who had acute care pediatric experience coming to the unit versus somebody who was already a nurse and had been working in a different unit but transitioning there. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a really positive experience with that. And then I had positive experiences as I moved through my different kind of fellow positions as I went to those new specialties of working with adults or working in ambulatory care, but it didn't have as much thoughtful progression and what education did I need, really those fellowship components as I
Yeah.
transitioned. And so I sometimes felt more of a struggle that as I transitioned specialties of just like, oh, you're going to get a couple orientation shifts and you'll be fine. And I was like, but I don't even know like ambulatory care or peri anesthesia care. I mean, I know what I know from getting patients back in phase one as, in CVICU, but that is so different than what we do in ambulatory care. So that got kind of my interest in fellowship positions too, and being able to
Mm.
support nurses as they transition care and lower that role stress. So the things that I really focus on with nurse residency and fellowship programs too. I focus more on nurse residency in my role in full transparency, but in both of those, just looking at what are the unique individual needs of this population overall that we
Mm-hmm.
can best support them to decrease their role stress, to increase their ability to be successful in their role, to be able to be at that, practicing independently as soon as they're able and ready, but we're still considering what additional education that they need, whether it's transitioning from the new grad role or transitioning from a different specialty. What are those additional education components, and what are the kind of pieces to their orientation that are unique to both them as a population of folks as nurse residents or nurse fellows, and then also how can we make it individualized? That's the bigger challenge that I struggle with most of the time, is how do we make it individualized to the specific person as well. But those are the main pieces. It's just how do we help retain support, and in the end, what that is doing is helping our patients' outcomes be optimal. I certainly had those pieces where I'm like, I did not give the best care because I didn't know, and I didn't know that I didn't know. So I certainly asked whenever I was unsure, but at times there were things where I was thought I knew enough and was applying, information that I had from other specialties or other, situations where I think I definitely could have given better patient care with just some additional education up front to bridge that gap and that knowledge.
I love that. And I love, like, I can see why you're saying the individualizing portion of that is a little more difficult. Like, you're looking at the group as a whole and you're looking at people as individuals. How have you navigated that little professional challenge, if you don't mind elaborating on that?
I can try. I don't know if I
Still,
successfully,
still, still a work in progress. Yes.
still a work in progress though. Navigating that, at, at times it takes advocacy for changing processes, because we build the process first, really
Hmm.
looking at the group as a whole, and then going back is what I even when we try to think through what are the individualized circumstances, sometimes the lived experience of it, and just having the courage to advocate for maybe we didn't get it right, or maybe we need to change our process, and how can we make this a more comprehensive process that includes the individual, when we initially started with, okay, what are the needs of the group?
Right. No, that does, I love that answer. And I mean, to me, like, I'm just on the outside listening, like looking in on your life, and it sounds like not only are you organized, not only is that one of your superpowers, but I feel like your other, like your nursing superpower specifically, is like you're finding these gaps and you're filling the need in these gaps, whether it's for the patient care or whether it's for, you know what I mean, your new resident nurses, fellow nurses, and where are these, you just have this innate ability, it sounds like, to identify, hey, here's this need. We're missing this need. How do we fill it? And I just love that, because that's not everybody has that. I'd love to say that I do, and I genuinely don't feel like that's necessarily something that I always see. I'm learning to try and, in the interest of mutual transparency, trying to learn that more as I'm working with my students. And, you know what I mean? You're talking about a group of individuals who need to know, right, the specialty overall, and yet each individual's different, and then different ages, and, bring different, learning styles, learning needs, all of it. And you can only do the best that you can do. And I love that. And I love that you work through that professional challenge, which is a really ham-handed segue into the last set of questions you wanted me to ask you, which is, do you care to share about any challenges you've had in life, personally and or professionally, and how have you navigated those?
The one I was thinking about talking about was related to the personal challenge that I feel like still persists in nursing, of being told you need to go get experience first at the bedside before you get your master's degree. And so I knew, even though nursing wasn't what I was going to be since I was 5, but once I got into nursing, I knew this was my career. I knew it was where I was staying, and I knew also that I was likely going to end up needing my master's degree to work in kind of different areas. I didn't know exactly what it was as I graduated school, but I did delay getting my master's degree. And, then life started to happen, and it just got busier and busier. And I actually went back to get my master's degree when my triplets were 6 months old and my oldest was 3 years old. But my husband said to me, like shortly after the triplets were born, said, "Hey, you know how you wanted to go get your master's? Are you ever going to do that?" It was not good timing. It was not a good relationship move on his part to bring that up when he did. But it did help me, and he was helpful too in saying, like, "I will support you. That's something you wanted to do, and I feel like it's slipping away now. Like, what can I do to help you?" Like, he was trying to be helpful. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
I
I
mean,
remember you had that goal."
phrased a little differently, but that's okay. Like, hey, don't forget about this dream, my friend.
So I did do it, and I started school when they were 6 months old, and my oldest was 3, and that was challenging. That was really challenging to
Mm-hmm.
navigate and to be able to manage all of the things. And I did stop working for a period of time completely at the bedside. I kept up clinical instructor at Gonzaga, but I did completely stop working for a period of time to be able to just manage it all. So it was something that I've wondered about, and just what would have been like if, while he was getting his or his PhD, if I just would have gotten my master's at that same time. I would have had so much more time and would have not missed as much time with my kids or had as much stress trying to balance it all. And I didn't have to necessarily work with it immediately. I could have kept doing the jobs that I was doing, but just to have it, kind of the knowledge to have it done, to be able to have done it at kind of an earlier period, I think would have been less challenging for me. But I'm
Yeah.
very, very glad that I did do it and that he asked that question, although it turned out great, so great that night. I was like, "Why are you asking me this?" Like, seriously, I
What?
haven't slept in like 2 months. I'm already going back to school.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, that's what spouses are for, though, too, right? Like, it's like, hey, don't forget about this.
Yeah.
I remember you having this dream. Like, are you still gonna go down this road? Like, oh, I love that though, and I appreciate you sharing that and the timing situation of that because I mean, my wife and I were just having this discussion the other day where, we talked about like, and there are some universities that have benefits, right? And I don't want to get into Gonzaga specifically, but if you do work for certain universities full time, then you either get a free ride or discounted tuition, things of that nature. And I think that's amazing. And that was always part of my dream, right? Like, I'm like, oh man, if I can because I knew I wanted to teach eventually, and oh man, if I teach and I can do this for a period of time, then maybe when my kids are old enough, they can attend this university at a discounted tuition or X, Y, or Z. And yet here what I mean, I was a later in life master's degree as well, where it was final. I tell people there is a point where dreams can become an anchor as opposed to clouds or stars to reach for. Because for me, it was like, you almost reach a point where like, yeah, can you teach an old dog new tricks? It's been a long time since I went back, and just really doing some self-reflecting as far as like, is this something I still really want to do? I mean, yeah, okay, the passion's there, but you know what I mean? Like you reach a point where it's like, did you experience any of that since there was that gap for you?
I did, and definitely. When I thought about it, it was like I'm either going to have to just cut myself free, like from this goal and let it go,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to really challenge myself and kind of challenge our family to be able to reach kind of this goal that I had, or this idea that I had. So it definitely was that kind of piece of it's either going to happen, or you're going to have to let it go. And I think either would have been okay,
Yeah.
either would have been okay. I wouldn't be able to have the position that I have now, but I would
Mm-hmm.
be doing something positive in nursing regardless of
Mm-hmm.
having this specific position. And so that decision for me was to go ahead and do it. But there's, multiple reasons that I could have chosen not to as well. And I still
Yeah.
know I still would be able to make a positive difference.
Awesome. Well, then let's circle back around. You had chosen 3 words to describe nursing school, and now, even most intriguing, I want to hear the whys, knowing that you went through nursing school, once and then again a little bit later as far as like your master's degree is concerned. So, what were the 3 words you picked, and why did you pick them?
So I picked challenging because of just the amount of time nursing school took, from just the amount of time that you spend in clinicals or completing assignments or studying for tests. I had never been challenged like that academically. I'd been able to get assignments done pretty quickly, study for a little bit, still get an A. It just had never been as challenging as the amount of time that I had to spend. And I think that was partially because I had to develop my thinking. It wasn't just memorizing and returning back facts on tests or, getting them back out in assignments, but really that I was learning to think was part of the challenging piece, and the time management piece of just spending 8 hours at clinical and what that did to a day where it was a little bit different for my friends who just went to class for, 6 hours, 4 hours total in the entire day and had time between to get things done. So that time management piece was challenging for me as I learned the schedule of nursing school. And
Mm-hmm.
then I picked rewarding because the sense of accomplishment that I had when I was successful in getting the kind of grades that I was striving for from studying on the test, or the growth that I saw in myself from clinicals, from being like, oh, I do not want to go to clinical today, completely dreading it, to leaving that day and being like, I started an IV today, and I packed a wound today, and I did this today. And just the amount of accomplishment, I positively influenced. I sat with my patient and talked to them and was able to learn about their story and hear from them. So it was rewarding in that way as well. And then it was definitely eye-opening for me in my, early, I was 20 when I started nursing school. Although I'd had my experiences with my stepfather with brain cancer as a whole, I was very naive to just the suffering and struggles of other people and what they endure with their health, the challenges that they have in just navigating life, their loved ones, their family members. And so it was just very much an eye-opening experience for me to see how many people live and struggle to make decisions. And so it was certainly something very different than my non-nursing. Most of my friends were non-nursing. And so when they would talk about their frustrations with their accounting professor, and I was like, yeah, yesterday at clinical, this happened. It was just what I was learning about life was a lot more breadth of knowledge than what I would sometimes hear the frustrations of others. I was like, that actually doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
In the grand scheme of things, in the overall picture of it, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Then you have one piece of advice. If there's one thing you want the listeners to take away and just tuck away in their heart of hearts for the rest of their lives, what would that one piece of advice be?
My one piece of advice is to both be patient with yourself and prioritize taking care of yourself. I see that we sometimes set expectations just of ourselves, and sometimes of others that aren't realistic, especially of the job that we actually do, particularly in that bedside role, and that being patient and open and prioritizing taking care of yourself is what can really help balance that out.
Amen and hallelujah. Listen to her. Take that lesson to heart as early as you possibly can. Carsen, thank you so much for spending time here on your now established Tuesday morning, not Monday morning, to talk all things nursing, your career. Super inspiring. I just thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful experience to get to talk and share and reflect.
Here's what's happening on the next episode of Feeding Our Young.
I get to work with nursing students a lot too, as a nurse, and I always tell them, I'm like, when you first graduate, you're gonna go into orientation, and first before orientation, you're gonna go into having to study and work towards the NCLEX, and that first month, you're gonna have no motivation to study for that NCLEX. We'll be all real. No one wants to do it. You're gonna sleep so much. Like your body just crashes afterwards. And then you pass your NCLEX and you crash again because you're like, oh, the stress is over, and you crashed. And then you go into orientation and you're fighting for your life every day, learning all this new information and how to do things on a unit. And you feel so exhausted that it's kind of like you come home on your days off and you doom scroll and you sit on your couch, and that's totally normal. I feel like it's only been in like the past like 4 or 5 months that I've really actually started to rediscover what I like. Like it's taken a while.
Awesome.
Because I was so tired, and I want to say like that's so normal. Like give yourself grace. That's so normal to just absolutely crash afterwards because you're so tired.
Did you like today's episode of Feeding Our Young? Want to know more about the Feeding Our Young movement? Check out our website at feedingouryoung.org. Would you like to be featured on a future episode? Maybe have Eric bring his unique brand of encouragement to your nursing students or nurses? Please text us at 509-666-5636 or email us at info@feedingouryoung.org. We're so excited to have you return to hear our next honored guest. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Feeding Our Young LLC. Again, that's username Feeding Our Young LLC. Until next time, be encouraged and go find someone to encourage today.